And then he can explain that if he feels the authority members are gonna do that, but,
I don't wanna do it until we got all the approval saying, yes, we can do it, before we got everyone together.
well, I understand that that Don thinks that zoning wise we can do it. You
No,
know,
not Dawn.
Vaughn,
Vaughn.
Vaughn, Vaughn thinks we
Don't
can do
talk
it,
about
we,
Dawn.
yeah, we can do it, zoning wise. I guess what we have to look at is what are you looking from us, to be involved in it? This, I would look at as more of a Nittany Valley community thing, not just the township to be involved. I mean, we're talking about Bellefonte football, so we're gonna have kids from the different areas, Walker Township and Bellefonte, right? Spring
Yes.
Township playing.
Yes.
Okay, so I'd have to see where we're getting involved with that. We're actually talking about an authority for fixing up the swimming pool in Bellefonte. And I
I
don't
heard
know.
that's a dead thing.
No,
I was at the meeting, the 100 acres they bought from the school district, and they put in fields and stuff. I was on that meeting, that board, and I brought that up, because they're planning to put a new swimming pool in that area. And I said about, you guys could.
not in that area. They're gonna fix up the current swimming pool.
Well, I said that, they'll fix the current swimming pool. Then one of the board members said, no, that fell through.
No, we went to a meeting last week on that.
Okay,
So we're looking at creating authority to look at that.
okay.
And that might fit in with all this, but I think the first step is knowing that State College Water Authority's on board with this, because Max can't just give land away, he's gotta get their signature.
I think he already did all that, but
Yeah,
I'll
well,
double
we need
check
to
tomorrow.
we need to
He will
verify.
be at that meeting on Wednesday.
Yeah, I think talking to him on Wednesday and getting a letter from them saying that they're in favor of this project would be a good start.
And the scope of the project, so we understand what it is you're talking about.
Okay. I just want to bring up the date, but.
All right, good. Carrie O'Shea is a Relay for Life.
Yeah, I'm here to discuss the possible use of the Buffalo Run Community Park on May 12th. The American Cancer Society is rolling out a new program. It's called Relay Recess. And we're trying to get all of the center county schools on board with this. And basically what it'll do is they're trying to provide the children with cancer prevention education. And then at the end, they're trying to do the mini relays at the school, and then we were thinking to do a huge community type event, just promoting the Relay Recess and trying to, again, emphasize the importance. There's 4 basic components. They're looking at nutrition, physical activity, tobacco prevention, and sun's care. And so what our idea, Sam is the American Cancer Society employee that I work with, I'm a volunteer. But what we were thinking we would do is use that as like instead of trying to hit all the different schools and trying to pull off a huge event, because depending upon how the schools decide to do it, if they just want their children to walk during recess, or I know that Benner does, they actually do like a mini relay where all the children go out and do their walk. So all the schools will be able to do their own components, the teachers will be able to do the educational, like the American Cancer Society has the whole program in place for them as far as like educational information to give to them, ways to do it in the classroom and things like that, whether it be the teacher or the health or the phys ed teacher. And then at the end of that, we're planning on having a big community event, and we're hoping to use the Buffalo Run Community Park for that, because we want to have it set up where going around the walking trail, it'll have the 4 different components, so we'll have somebody there talking to the children about sun safety, or have some games that will explain to them about sun safety, something about tobacco use. We'll have some healthy food options for them and different games and things that they can play, and then also with the sunscreen. And then we want to use the fields so that families can play soccer, like a kickball game, a baseball game. And basically, we're just looking for the use of the facility and to see if you would like to be a community sponsor or to help us with the funding for some of the activities that will be going on that day.
Okay. Is there a protocol for
I don't
renting
have
it
it.
or for
I don't know
signing?
what the thing is with that park, Sharon. I mean, I know other people use it.
I mean, we just, as long as you guys are fine with what she's proposing,
Yeah,
we'll just
I mean-
block that day out.
You know what day it was? I
May
don't know.
12th.
May 12th.
Yeah, I just need to coordinate with the baseball teams that use it practice? Is the 12th a weekend or?
It's
It's
a
a
weekend.
Saturday, yeah.
Okay, usually they're not using it, but
Right.
sometimes they have a makeup game
Mhm.
on one of the fields. So,
Is parking an issue?
I think we should be fine with that's what kind of why I chose that, because you guys do the haunted hayride there, and if we could do the parking, you know, have it set up where the parking is up in the top part of the grass, and then we'll have food available for sale at the pavilion, and then everything else will be down on the different fields, we'll have it broken up, and so like, it'll be probably from 10 to 4, and it'll be divided up, like, okay, at this time, there will be like a soccer game going on at this time. And basically, it's just kind of to get families out there, get them active, get them educated, and hopefully raise some money for the cancer community, and the proceeds then would go to the Bellefonte Relay for Life.
do you have insurance?
Yes, we do.
Okay, yeah, we usually large groups, I think we have insurance, right, Sharon? On it, and were you looking for us
Sorry.
to provide parking people, or were you gonna provide
If
parking?
you could provide parking people, that would be great.
We tend to usually hire fire police and have volunteers with the things that we do.
Okay,
So that would be a cost to us
okay,
if we hired, the fire police.
okay.
So,
Is that a cost that you would be willing to?
well, I'm just throwing out so the
Okay.
board members know what we normally
you're-
run into. So that would, if we provide the fire police, we'd be,
I think
unless we get them to donate their time.
in the next couple of weeks, I guess we could ask you to put a letter together of what you're asking for
Okay,
by way of support and what it would look like.
And get with Sharon's for
Will.
that date.
Sounds great.
Yeah, I think it's a good deal.
Okay. Any other person to address the board that's not on a topic that's not on the agenda further down?
Wade, did you wanna say something?
Nope, I'm good.
Oh,
All right. We move to the approval of the minutes. There are 3 sets of minutes that Sharon prepared and circulated. I read them, reviewed them prior, didn't see any issues with them.
I didn't either, I mean, they're good with me.
Corrections?
I don't see any.
Can you take a motion, or do we just approve them?
Motion. Make a motion to approve.
Second?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Bills, accounts receivable from the general fund is just on here for informational, is that right?
and approval.
Or
Review
the
and approval.
payable, I guess, is informational, right?
Right.
Okay. The payables, 49,598, as Sharon has detailed.
And the receivables, I just saw that I didn't mark that on there since I made the additions, it's $73,248.37.
Move to approve the bills as presented.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, we'll vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Committee reports. That brings us to old business, and that starts with the Spring Creek Canyon. Status
Well,
update.
Well, we had a committee, did you go to the MPO meeting? That's for all the committees that we attend, committee reports.
Oh,
We have the different committees that we serve on Clearwater.
all right.
We just don't have a list of them, it's whatever one you went to, you need to speak up.
The MPO committee report goes as follows. The MPO has no money and is at the end of their cycle to distribute that lack of money. And they are in the process of developing whatever the next round of plan prioritization would look like, but there isn't the promise of much funding.
I do understand from them that there will be retro bridge money next year.
They alluded to the possibility of retro bridge money, yes. On a competitive basis, it would have to be on expense reimbursement. It wouldn't be anything that you could be promised prior.
Right.
They did say that there are very few townships that are accessing that or even trying to access that because of the risk. So suggestion is that there will be money there until somebody uses it. Other committees, the
I
fire,
had the fire exec board, meeting, and they were just basically working on the fireman, police, policies and procedures, and they did sell, tentatively, if the other fire company can get the funds, they sold their old truck for $35,000, which should go towards paying off or paying towards another piece of equipment.
On the fire too, we attended an ISO meeting to help with the fire task force to understand what we might and might not do. One of the interesting points I learned was we could actually raise the ISO and cost our residents higher insurance if we put a fire company in here, if it wasn't trained 100% like Bellefonte is now. Because they would actually downgrade our rating. Let's say if we just put a pumper truck here and it was the first call and we only had 3 guys that could, their ratings are based on how many people can respond, how quickly, and all kinds of criteria. It's quite intensive. So, when I had talked about, if we had a satellite station, actually a satellite station could hurt our residents' insurance if we're not careful. So having that ISO information would be quite valuable as we go through the decision process of fire regionalization. I'm trying to think, there was something else on that. Still waiting to hear from Bellefonte whether they're willing to accept us having a voting member on the exec board. That was proposed to get back to taking care of the contract versus the regionalization. I think we were kind of running in and going in circles dealing with both issues, and the task force decided separating that and getting the elected officials and the exec board with Bellefonte fire company would be, and having Spring Township on there would be the most prudent thing to do. We haven't heard back from Bellefonte whether they're willing to do that.
are there other committee reports on?
Well, we had the swimming pool, if you wanna just wait till the
Well,
agenda.
that's, yeah, we'll deal with that at number 7.
Okay.
Now, old business. Spring Creek Canyon.
There hasn't been a tag meeting recently. We still have not, and I'm gonna check with Jake's office on the status of Harrisburg, finishing up reviewing the paperwork on the access points. Clearwater wants to start talking to us about our conservation easement on the land that we would own. They kept playing games with me, and now I understand why they were. They're looking to be paid to monitor us,
Who's that?
Clearwater.
No?
And so I called Jake's office today to say, that was not my understanding that we'd be paying them. If we have a conservation easement and we say, we're gonna tell you every time we do something, and we present that and you have a problem with it, but I don't see where we need to pay them to monitor us. And so before I even sit down with them and talk about what they wanna do, I've gotta call into Jake's office about this and why we as a municipality would be monitored and have to pay for that. That seems to me to be creating bureaucracy. So, they're supposed to get back to me on that.
Is this the easement just to the extent that it affects our small pieces of land?
The legislation stated that we would sign a conservation easement and that Penn State would sign a conservation easement, but the Fish and Boat and Game didn't have to. I didn't see an issue with signing an easement because I felt coming in and saying, look, we won't do anything but take care of the trail. It was a pretty easy thing. We're not farming, we're not gonna be spreading manure, we're not gonna be doing anything like that. And I think Clearwater kept trying to hide from me the fact that they were gonna be looking for money from us. Until I kept saying, why do we need to have a meeting? Send me your conservation easement